The following program contains adult content and sexual themes. Viewer discretion is advised. And it contains murder. Lots and lots of murder.
You stinking bastard.
People tell me, hey, you're gonna go die and go to hell. At least I'm not alone.
Down for 911, where's your emergency?
Oh, this is Sandy. For 31 Rock, Black Plymouth Road.
What's the problem?
Send the police.
Hey guys, don't be a hero, mate. And I said, I'm not trying to be a hero, but the police are coming.
One in the chest, one in the head. Fired by Detective Sergeant Roger Rogerson.
I was branching out. That's when the cannibalism started, eating of the heart and the arm muscle.
I would have nailed Carl Williams' hands to a coffee table and just pulled it out of his backside. Carl Williams is a wobbly bottomed little cherub face little boy whose life would be.
I'd harm someone each time. I'd kill someone. There'd be an enormous amount, especially at first, enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger.
Hi, I'm Barney Black.
And I'm Tara Saraban.
And we do Bloody Murder.
We're a weekly true crime podcast focusing on some of the lesser-known serial killers and crime stories from Australia.
And indeed around the globe.
What will you be covering this week, Barney?
Oh, I've got a scorcher, a dodler.
A dodler? What's a dodler?
A dodler is something that's good.
I'm glad to hear
A
it.
scorcher. A cracker.
A cracker?
Yeah, a serial killer from Belgium. The land of waffles and chocolate.
A serial killer? Yeah, I've got a serial killer too, for a change.
Oh.
This will be the serial killer episode.
What have you got?
I actually have the 6th most prolific serial killer in the world ever, also known as the Butcher of Rostov, Andrei Chikatilo.
Oh, yeah.
Chikatilo. Doo-doo-bom, bom. Chikatilo.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
But as usual, we like to start off by fielding some listener questions.
Yeah, we have one from Leah Lee. She said, can't work out if you two are Australian or Yanks, referring to police as both the popo and knew the words to the 2 Cent song. I don't know what a 2 Cent song is. Do you?
I wouldn't know. I think I'm possibly Norwegian or maybe Irish.
You're a combination of the two.
And you're an alien.
I am an alien. I come from above the beanstalk, which is where all the giants are growing.
Holly Marie Dunning asked, you guys joked about teeth vagina. Have you seen the horror movie called Teeth?
I have not seen that. Is it a documentary about Madonna? Was what I was wondering. But apparently, probably not.
Oh, is it? There actually is a movie. I know there's a made-for-television movie with Snooki.
Oh, back to Snooki. All roads lead back to Snooki. I think that you're obsessed with her.
Maybe.
Yeah. You know, when you're alone sometimes, box of tissues, tub of Vaseline.
No.
Put on Jersey Shore.
No.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what else have we got? Karen Barnes was saying, I'm listening to the new ep, and Barney, you have me rolling with your German.
9.
Somebody likes it. Somebody thinks Gaddafilov's a real thing. Thanks, Karen.
The Gaddafiloff does really mean potato head. Josh Gould says glitter is the herpes of the craft world.
That's absolutely true. It spreads like no one's business, particularly if you're doing unprotected glitter stuff. You will catch it.
Yes, you will.
Bill Pecos said, FYI, pulling someone's pants down in the US is called pantsing them. A bit on the nose, granted, but accurate nonetheless. Yeah, we call it dacking here, and that's not particularly a good description of what it is. Pantsing, on the other hand, is perfect.
Ariel added to that conversation.
She did.
What did she say again?
She said that she actually pantsed a boy that she liked at school.
And what happened?
I'm not sure if it was at school or not. Maybe it was actually just out in the world. Well, I asked her if that turned him on, and she was like, yeah, we got married straight away. So apparently that can work.
So if you like someone, dack them.
Dack them. Dack them hard.
Lucy Fisher says flouncy bushranger could be the name of a waxing joint.
It could indeed be the name of a waxing joint. Good point, Lucy.
I'd like to get my bush ranged in a flouncy way.
Yeah, maybe you could get some vajazzling going on too. That's almost glitter.
Hey, I'd like to thank our patrons.
Oh, absolutely.
Sean Whelan.
Kelly Bryden.
David Laity.
1976 GGN.
Manners R.
Kinnan 10.
Ab Height.
Frankie Jayasakera.
And the lovely Holly Andrew. If you'd like to support us, visit our Podbean page and click on the Patreon button. There are some sweet benefits to be had. There's also a link to our merch store, and you can find all of those links in the notes of this show.
Yes, which is fantastic. Barney got his shit together, and he got our shit together for us, and he put everything in the one place because that's what professionals would do, right?
And look, if you really want to have a what's that elephant's name?
Topsy.
Topsy. If you want a Topsy T-shirt, email us and demand it. We'll make one for you.
Because I think a Topsy T-shirt would be cool. I also think a Travis the Monkey one is like a must, for me anyway. If you have any other merch ideas from listening and things that have come up, do let us know. Our email is bloodymurderpodcast@gmail.com.
Now, let's hear your murder.
Oh, as though it's just the one murder. So Chikatilo is actually the 6th most prolific serial killer in the world ever. Do you want to hear who the first 5 are?
Oh, yeah. Give me a top 5.
All right. So number 1 is a Colombian asshole named Luis Garavitowicz. He was also more commonly known as the Beast. He had 138 proven victims, though he is thought to have killed over 300.
Wow.
Yeah. Number 2 is Pedro Lopez, who is also a Colombian. He has 110 proven murders, but possibly over 300. And number 3 is not going to do much for the Colombian tourism industry because he is also Colombian. His name is Daniel Camargo, and he's had 72 proven murders, but possibly up to 180. At number 4 is Brazilian Pedro Rodrigues Filho with 71, but possibly over 100. And number 5 is Yang Xinhei from China with 67. So gold, silver, and bronze for serial killers goes to Colombia. And this is when we play their national anthem.
Wow. Go South America.
They certainly know how to kill a lot of people there. So let's get back to Chikatilo. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was born on October 6, 1936 in Yaboltsne, which was a small Ukrainian farming village. Under the lovely Stalin's regime, Ukrainian farmers were forced to give over their entire crops for statewide distribution. So farmers weren't able to profit from the work they did or even feed their own families. Mass starvation plagued the Ukraine, and there were many reports of cannibalism taking place. Like stories about where someone would go to a friend's house for dinner and find fingers floating in the soup.
Well, the Ukrainians have a word for when they escape from prison and they take another fat prisoner with them.
Do they only
that
take
they're going to eat later? They have a name for that?
Right, it's called Ron, for later on. I'm going to have to, if I'm escaping from prison, I need to take a Ron with me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, it also makes me think maybe they went to dinner at Joachim Kroll's house. He liked to make hand soup.
Yum.
Delicious. At the age of 5, his mother Anna told Chikatilo that 7 years earlier, his older brother Stepan had been kidnapped and eaten by starving neighbours. Although it's never been proven that this happened, she used it as a way to control little Andrei. Don't go play too... Oh, I should do that in Russian, shouldn't I? Don't go play too far away from the house or cannibals will eat you. This story really affected Andrei, and he said he often, imagined what might have happened to his brother.
I don't blame his mum. It's hard being a parent.
Well, yeah, this does actually remind me of the way you use Kevin to keep your kids in line.
Well, that's right. I tell my kids, well, you better do this because you know what happened to your other brother. And they go, what other brother? And I go, exactly.
Yeah, and that has developed because they've asked you his name, and I believe it was Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked we were on a trip to the beach earlier in the year, and we started to, jamming on the whole Kevin thing, and it was revealed that maybe there's been more than one Kevin.
Oh, there's been many Kevins.
There's been many Kevins. You've had many children, but only 2 have survived.
Many disappointments.
No. Yeah. So Chikatilo's parents were farm labourers, and they lived in a one-room hut, all sleeping in the same bed, which was problematic for them as he was a chronic bedwetter. And so his mother would beat and berate him on a pretty much daily basis because he kept wetting the bed they were all sleeping in.
Yeah, that can be a problem.
Yeah, inconvenient. growing up in the Ukraine at this point, I think everything was pretty inconvenient. When World War II broke out, his father was conscripted into the army, and he was wounded and taken prisoner by the Germans and wasn't released until after the war was over. By the time he got home, he'd been branded a traitor by the Stalinist regime for allowing himself to be caught. Although only 10 at the time, Chikatilo was already a devout member of the Communist Party and was happy to voice his negativity about for what he saw as his father's betrayal. You have brought shame to family, father. I don't think that was exactly Russian, but it will do.
They drink at the end?
Vodka. Because, getting captured by the Germans is just a fun picnic, right? Everyone had a great time after being caught by the Germans. He was a scholarly child who didn't have many friends and was picked on by the other kids at school. That happens all the time to, like, actual children, but particularly to serial killers. I know from doing this show, pretty much all of them had that, except, like, Dana Sue Gray and possibly Rian. He was very nearsighted, but feared wearing glasses would make him get picked on more, so he didn't admit that he needed them until he was in his 20s. I wonder if that happens. Like, kids who are already being bullied, they won't admit that they have some kind of sight problem because they don't want yet another reason for the unimaginative little fuckers at school to give them shit. He grew much taller and bigger in his teens, so that makes you get picked on less. I know this from experience. And he did well at school and was the editor of the school paper and the political information officer, which was a very prestigious position to have. Socially, though, he was awkward as all hell, and particularly around girls. As he grew older, he became more confident, but several of his early attempts at sex failed because he wasn't able to get a stiffy.
Oh, well, yeah, you need that.
Yeah, you do need that if you're going to actually have sex. This feeling of impotence made him obsessed with masturbation because that's what a lot of serial killers are obsessed with, jerking off. He'd probably listen to Case File and rub one out if he was around today.
Probably would.
So while he was on national service, he attempted to have sex with a woman who wasn't interested. So he attempted to rape her, essentially. Her struggling to get away from him caused him to finally get the erection he was hoping for. But then he jizzed in his pants and the girl managed to escape. So premature ejaculation is generally seen as a bad thing, but in this case...
Fortunately.
It was a really good thing. Yeah, suck it in your jizz pants, Chikatilo. Now, this experience made him realise he was super turned on by fear and violence, which never leads anywhere good.
No.
After he finished his national service, he got a job as an engineer in Russia and moved his parents and sister there too. His sister had a friend named Faina, who was considered a spinster because she was 23 and unmarried. Left on the shelf. Her bits are going bad. No. Chikatilo wasn't having much luck with the ladies either, so they kind of had like this loser sort of situation where they were like, well, can't do better. May as well marry you. So Faina soon realised that he wasn't able to consummate the marriage and appeared to have no interest in sex, involving people. But he didn't beat her, so she was kind of like, cool, whatevs. It's kind of, that's all right. Via masturbation and some kind of amateur home turkey basting situation, they had 2 kids, Yadmila and Yuri. Being a studious fellow, Chikatilo gained degrees in Russian literature, engineering, and Marxism-Leninism. That's when you study the films of the Marx Brothers and the solo music of John Lennon, I believe.
I don't think that's it.
Pretty sure. Communists love that shit. He became a teacher at vocational school number 2 in Novovshatnik. In Novovshatnik. He was a shit teacher who had no control over his pupils, and they called him the Goose, which in Russian meant jerk. So kind of like dickhead.
Yeah, fuck knuckle.
Yeah, asshole. Limp dick.
Yeah, shit nose.
Yeah, fuckhead.
Nipple eyes.
Cunt face.
Cocksucker.
You cocksucker. Oh boy, they know how to swear on Deadwood. Anyway, I digress. Actually, that's my profession. Digressing. He was ridiculed by students and other teachers who thought he was odd. Despite all of this, he kept teaching because he found being around young children sexually aroused him.
Yeah.
He eventually started molesting male and female students and was forced to resign. This being communist Russia, no charges were pressed, and he was able to find work at a boarding school. Let's put this guy around sleeping children, huh? The students ridiculed him here too, and he had the shit beaten out of him by a group of seniors after he was caught trying to fillet a sleeping little boy.
Ugh.
Yeah, go seniors. Beat the shit out of that goose. After this, he started carrying a knife. That's not going to go well either, is it?
Stabby, stabby.
Oh, yeah. Ugh, impotent stabby. In 1978, he moved his family to Shakti. Unbeknownst to his wife, he bought a secret shack near the river. It would become his man cave or his love shack.
I thought you said nutsack.
Nutsack, baby.
Nutsack, baby. You know, in Russian, nutsack is rushbidot.
Oh, I did not know that. Is that the only Russian word you know?
No, I know dus vadunya.
And what's that?
Goodbye.
So, yeah, okay, we've got two.
And babushka.
That's like mother.
Grandmother.
Grandmother. So you could say, goodbye, grandmother nutsack.
Yeah. We're heading on down to the nutsack.
So Lena Zakout. I could do this earlier. I was practicing and everything, and now it just sounds like I'm a dick who's never even tried. Oh, I sound like Chikatilo's dick, right?
Yeah, that never even tried.
Yeah, and when it didn't just rain, it poured. Lena Zakotnova was a friendly 9-year-old girl who met Chikatilo at a tram stop on December 22nd, 1978. He lured her to his secret shack, the nutsack baby, with the promise of giving her some imported chewing gum. Because, you know, communist Russia.
I give you gum, you'll come to my nutsack.
I will give you gum if you come to nutsack. Once safely inside the shack, he pushed her to the floor and removed her coat and underwear. Worried that someone would hear her screams, he pressed his forearm across her throat and leaned his body weight onto her until she was silent. He blindfolded her with her scarf and tried to rape her, but he couldn't get it up, so he used his fingers, which is still bad. This alone caused him to have a powerful orgasm because he's a sick fuck.
He sure is.
Concerned she might report him for what he had done, he stabbed her in the stomach 3 times. He then carried her body to the Grushevka River and hurled Lena and her school bag into the icy cold water.
What was that river again?
It was called the Grushevka
So
River.
he went from his nutsack to the
Grushevka River.
Right.
And water found in the little girl's lungs proves that she was still alive when he did this. Yeah, although you'd rather be in the river than his love shack, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely.
In his haste to dispose of the poor little girl, he didn't realise he'd left a light on in the shack, and Lena's blood had also dripped onto the doorstep. So there was some evidence there. The next day, Lena's body was found floating in the river. A witness came forward and told the police she had seen Lena at the tram stop with a tall, thin man in his 40s who wore thick glasses. A police artist created a sketch based on her description, but police still arrested a 25-year-old man named Kravchenko, who had a record for rape but didn't resemble Chikatilo, didn't resemble him either, and had never worn glasses. They kind of blind like wombles, these fuckers. While police interrogated the man, the sketch was circulated around the area. A student of Chikatilo's told the authorities that the sketch looked like his teacher. Officers searching the area near the river happened upon Chikatilo's secret shack, where they noticed a light on and blood drops on the doorstep.
Blood drops on the doorstep. That sounds
Remind me, baby, of you.
Yeah.
The police brought Chikatilo in for questioning, but released him shortly afterwards, as his wife supplied him with an alibi, saying that he'd been at home with her all evening. Although they had some compelling evidence against Chikatilo, the police thought Kravchenko was more likely a suspect than the educated teacher and family man and party member, so they obtained a confession from him. Kravchenko was sentenced to 15 years in a labour camp. After Chikatilo's first murder, the cops could have got him, but they fucked up.
So close.
Yeah, and then he went on to kill at least 53 more people, most of them kids.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, like, for fuck's sake. In 1981, Chikatilo started a new job as a supply clerk for a local industrial complex. The job meant he needed to travel across the country to find and purchase supplies for the factory. All this travel gave him ample opportunity to take his murderous shit show on the road. Great, he's touring now.
Great.
6 months later, he met 17-year-old runaway Larissa Kachenko at a bus stop. Due to the poverty she was living in, she sometimes traded sexual favors for food and alcohol. On this premise, she accompanied Chikatilo into the woods in Rostov. When he started violently tearing her clothes off, she got scared and tried to fend him off, and he attempted to subdue her by punching her in the face several times. To stifle her screams, he filled her mouth with dirt and he strangled her.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yep. It's not the worst of it. Next, he bit off one of her nipples and came all over her dead body.
Wow.
Yep, he later told police that he danced with joy around her corpse. Woo!
Bom, bom.
Chikatilo.
Oh, yeah.
He was probably singing that to himself as he did it. So Chikatilo was totes thrilled with how this murder had gone, and he was on a complete blood buzz. In June 1982, while in Zaplavskaya on business, he followed 13-year-old Bluebeard from a bus stop and killed her too. Frustrated at his inability to rape her, he pulled out his knife and stabbed her repeatedly. He even gouged out her eyes, because there's a Russian superstition that the thing that you see last when you die is somehow like recorded on your eyes. So he was a bit worried about that because, it wasn't a good angle of him when he was stabbing her. He probably had a double chin and stuff.
Dancing around and jizzing on her.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe he thought it recorded like video because no one wants to see that. Over the next year and a half, Chikatilo killed 8 more times. 2 of his victims were male, which further confused the knuckle-headed police department. The Soviet regime refused to acknowledge that there could be a serial killer operating in Russia. They claimed that was the kind of wackadoodle shit that only occurred in non-Soviet countries. We do not have those here. Yet. The fact that 2 of the victims had also been murdered outside of the Rostov area, but by someone with the same MO, by someone with the same BO, also confounded the police.
Really?
It did. Chikatilo's job meant he travelled a lot to many different places and was often at bus or train stations. Here he found potential victims of both sexes, often vagrants, who he would coerce into going to secluded places with him on the promise of food or other treats. Targeting vagrants also meant they wouldn't be reported missing, as Soviet Russia refused to acknowledge that there were any vagrants.
In Soviet Russia, we do not have hobos.
Yet. By September 1983, he had claimed 14 victims, although only 6 of them had been found, as he often hid the bodies under branches in deserted parts of the forest. Alarmed by all the children being murdered, the Central Moscow militia sent Major Mikhail Fetisov and his team to Rostov to take over the investigation. After Fetisov reviewed all the cases, he was sure that they'd all been perpetrated by the same person. Moscow headquarters refused to acknowledge there was a killer active in Russia, a serial killer, but they reluctantly accepted his findings. So Fetisov put together a special squad to investigate the murders. In line with the Soviet bureaucracy, the team was called the Division of Especially Serious Crimes.
I like that. That's obvious.
Yeah, they really like to name things really, really obviously. Semen samples were taken from on the victims, and it indicated that the killer had blood type AB. Anyone who was brought in for questioning had blood taken, and if it wasn't type AB, they were let go of. Because science.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Soviet Russia, great science, really good equipment. Not really. Shortly after this, the police picked up a suspect named Shaburov for acting suspiciously near the Rostov tram depot. Shaburov was mentally handicapped and was strong-armed into saying that he and 3 of his friends from a school for the mentally handicapped were responsible for several of the murders. When more murders took place while they were incarcerated, the genius cops decided there was a gang of madmen killing them all and rounded up several other handicapped men. They went on like a handicapped arrest spree. The questioning of these men was so violent and brutal that it resulted in the death of one of them and the suicide in custody of another.
Wow, that's some fine police work there.
Isn't it amazing? Eventually, someone in authority realised that the only retards in this situation were the police, and they let the men go, or at least the ones that were still alive. While all this was happening, Chikatilo was out there amping up his murder spree. From January to September, he committed 15 more murders. Desperate for more leads, the police had a psychiatrist put together a profile which said that the killer probably had some kind of sexual inadequacy, duh, and was brutalising his victims so horribly to compensate for it.
Adoy.
Plainclothes officers were put undercover to patrol bus, tram and train stations, as this is where many of the victims had last been seen. They were told to be on the lookout for anyone behaving strangely around commuters, especially young women and boys. On one of their first days doing this, an officer saw a tall, thin man with thick glasses who was wandering around and paying particular attention to unaccompanied little girls. He was asked for his papers, which identified him as being a freelance employee of the Department of Internal Affairs, which was a division of the KGB. Although the man was acting nervously, the cop gave him back his papers and apologised for interrupting him. We know who the guy is, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah?
Chikatilo. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the slippery sucker got away again. He gets away all the freaking time. It's like he's a lubricated goat. No one can grab a hold of him. Several weeks later, the same cop was patrolling a bus station and saw Chikatilo wandering around trying to chat up women and little girls. They followed him for several hours into restaurants and bars, as well as on a number of buses around the district before the buses returned to the station. At one point, he fondled a drunk woman who yelled at him.
What did she yell at him?
Get your hands off my dirty pillows. Does that work for you?
Oh my God, that was the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Excellent. I can see a new catchphrase coming. So anyway, this is what the cops had been waiting for. And so they asked to see his papers again.
Papers, please.
Yeah, papers, please. When he found out that they'd been following him for hours, he started sweating profusely because that's what innocent people do. The police then demanded to see what was in his briefcase. When they opened it, they found...
Puppies?
Kittens, some gift certificates to Bed Bath & Beyond. They found a length of rope, a jar of Vaseline, and a long bladed knife.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was it. Must-haves for every situation. At the station, Chikatilo was charged with harassing women in public places. This charge only carried 15 days imprisonment, but it gave the police more time to look into his background. After checking his file, they found that he was under investigation for stealing a roll of linoleum and a car battery from a factory he had worked at. What on earth do you think he's using a roll of lino?
I'll make my kitchen dance floor.
I
make my electric kitchen dance floor.
I will electrify kitchen floor for dancing.
Very good, thank you.
In Russia at the time, stealing state property was a major crime, which meant investigators could keep him locked up for as many months as they needed to check into his background thoroughly.
Nice.
Yeah, steal a roll of lino, we can keep you forever. Grab women, you're out in a couple of weeks, mate.
15 days,
Yeah, because that's nothing. Police learned of his penchant for small children, his acts of voyeurism, and that time that he put a sleeping little boy's dick in his mouth in the dormitory. The neighbours of his secret love shack nutsack told investigators that he used it to bang sex workers. Told you it was a love shack. Baby. The evidence strongly suggested that he was the killer, but when they took his blood sample, it showed that his blood type was A, not AB.
Oh, yet.
Why would this be? With all that great Soviet science that they had, I wonder.
I think you're going to tell us, aren't you, Tony?
Yeah, that wasn't a real question. If they'd also taken samples of his semen, hair or saliva, they would have discovered that he was in fact blood type AB. It's just that the antigens aren't present in the blood in a large enough capacity to show a positive match with the equipment that they had.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some shitty science, basically.
Yeah, shitty Soviet science yet again. The only evidence they had now was the report on his suspicious activities around the train and bus stations and the contents of the briefcase. Except they didn't even have that.
Why not? But they just had the briefcase.
Because they're fucking dicks. The knife, rope and jar of Vaseline was sent to Chikatilo's house by a local police lieutenant by mistake because dumb.
I am sorry for the inconvenience. Here's your Vaseline and knife and your God.
We send back to your place. You can use them at home. So that was a really good idea. The only charge they had enough evidence for was the theft. So he got charged with stealing lino, and he was sentenced to a year and had his Communist Party membership revoked. Aww.
No more dancing in the electric kitchen.
No, he can still do that. Oh, but there ain't no party like a Communist Party because a Communist Party is mandatory.
Yeah.
He was released after 3 months, and they probably threw him a party with a bouncy castle at a local preschool.
In Soviet Russia, we bring children to pedophile.
We find is less time consuming to have pedophile brought into a room with children, take pic, go do things, and then get back to work. We do not like you slacking off while hunting children.
Can you say the dirty pillows thing again?
Get your hands off my dirty pillows.
God, I love that.
You're going to make me say that all the time.
I am.
All right. Actually, my role in this podcast is going to just be rolled down to just that one line.
Wow. Hey, shit in a bucket.
Oh, my God. I can't believe people were saying that on Facebook and stuff.
It's a thing now.
I know. It actually, you've been trying to make that happen for, is it years? It feels like
a couple of
fucking years. Wow. I'm happy for you. I'm surprised, but I'm happy for you. Get your shit in a bucket away from my dirty pillows. He got out in 3 months. They brought the children to him. The officer who brought him in was demoted for being overly zealous in the performance of his duties because everything's upside down and back the front in Russia.
It is.
So during the next several years, Chikatilo continued to travel around the country, luring children and young women into secluded places with him on the promise of food, vodka, or money. Here he would strangle, sexually assault, and stab them to death before jizzing on their corpses and attempting to hide their bodies.
Indubitably.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So they got together like volunteer members of local militias to patrol trains on the lookout for anyone looking sus. Unfortunately, Chikatilo was also a member of one of the local militias, and so he volunteered to do this too and would search trains for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he found himself,
No.
though. And he also knew which areas they'd be patrolling, and so he killed in other parts of the Soviet Union instead. So that worked a fucking treat, didn't it? When police discovered his victims' bodies, they found that some of the body parts were missing. Many of the females were missing their uterus and nipples, and some of the males had their genitals and tongues sliced or bitten off. One of his last known victims was a boy named Vadim Tishenko. His body was found on November 3rd, 1990, near Rostov's Leskos train station, which was a location which had been heavily patrolled for months, but wasn't on the day of the murder due to a manpower shortage. Nailing it, Russia. After Vadim's body was found, police questioned the ticket sellers at the station to see if they could recall the boy and if he was with anyone at the time. An attendant at Shakti station recalled he was with a man who fit Chikatilo's description. She also told police that her daughter had seen the same man the year before trying to talk a little boy into getting off the train with him. The attendant's daughter gave police a detailed description of Chikatilo and said he travelled regularly on trains and spent a lot of time trying to pick up young people. Well, don't we all?
That's what I do.
Oh, yeah, constantly. Just riding around the city, chatting up children. Finally, the dumb fuck police investigators put 2 and 2 together and started tailing Chikatilo, trying to catch him in the act. They saw him attempt to chat up several little boys. He was feeling in a boy mood that day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like some days he's like, I feel like biting off the nipples of a little girl, and some days he's like, hungry for boy nipples.
Disgusting.
Jesus Christ. He was trying to chat them up. But they swooped in and finally arrested him. At the time of his arrest, he was carrying a briefcase with his favourite things in it. A length of rope, a long knife, and a jar of Vaseline. That's all you need to succeed in a modern world. Exactly the same shit he'd been carrying when he was arrested 6 years earlier. And there is footage of him being arrested. That's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Actually, the outfits in and of themselves are pretty special.
Early 90s, Russia. Oh, absolutely.
Seriously.
A lot of tracksuits, I would imagine.
Kind of. I believe there's like some leather sort of like beret-ish sort of caps, pageboy caps.
Nice.
Yeah. Chikatilo denied any involvement in the murders and told authorities he'd already been questioned and cleared for them. He refused to discuss the attacks with anyone until he was questioned by a psychiatrist named Dr. Bukanovsky, who assured him that he thought his actions were caused by a mental disorder and he would explain this to the court and his family. So this softened Chikatilo up and he started detailing his crimes. He was charged with 36 murders but confessed in great detail to 53.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he got talking. He even gave graphic descriptions of eating parts of the victims' bodies and drinking their blood. Delicious. His trial began on April 14th, 1992. Why did I do that for?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So his trial began on April 14th, 1992. Chikatilo was led into the courtroom and locked inside a large cage surrounded by armed guards to prevent grieving relatives and friends of the victims from tearing him limb from limb. I think they should have just let him.
I think they should have let him.
Yeah, it was a loud courtroom crowd too. There was a lot of like really intense sobbing and stuff because, I mean, for fuck's sake, there's 53 dead people, many of them kids.
He's a killer of children.
Yeah, he also liked to eat nipples. So these are the images of him in that cage acting cray-cray. That's what comes to mind when I, and probably a lot of other people, think of Chikatilo. Bald and acting crazy in a cage. His head had been shaved because that was a procedure all incarcerated men went through when they were first locked up to avoid the spread of lice. Yeah. Nits, mate. So it wasn't an aesthetic choice on his part. Left to his own devices, he preferred a wispy comb-over type hair situation.
My kids gave nits to this girl I only dated once.
They what? They gave nits to a girl that you dated once.
Yeah. Because I don't get them because I don't have any hair really.
Well, you've got some hair. You could get mustache nits.
I guess.
You've got a lot of body hair. Does that happen?
So
body nits?
This girl said, this woman said, your kids gave me nits. And
wow.
I didn't want to.
And then she didn't want to bang you anymore?
No.
Just...
It's not the worst first date I've had. I've had much worse. But I'm not going to interrupt your story anymore. Maybe I'll tell you some more later.
Yeah, I quite like that story actually. Oh, the nits. Also, we need to talk about Chikatilo's shirt.
Oh, the check shirt.
Yeah. He was dressed in a shirt, like this checkered shirt, that was publicizing the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games, and he was wearing that because that's what he was given by the authorities to wear. It wasn't a bad taste attempt at serial killer sponsorship by the Olympic Committee. Okay, they had no part in that.
Really?
Yes. The trial was opened by the judge reading out the list of indictments against the accused. This alone took 2 entire days.
Wow.
Just to read what he was charged with. In an effort to avoid the death penalty, Chikatilo decided to act crazy, and boy, did he deliver.
Wow, what kind of shit did he do?
Well, he constantly interrupted proceedings by yelling about the rats and level of radiation in his cell. He took off all his clothes and waved his cock at the crowd, shouting, "Look at this useless thing. What do you think I could do with that?" He also complained that the judge and the prosecution were biased. Imagine the prosecution being biased
against him?
What? Why?
Outrageous.
And he also said that he was pregnant and the guards had been hitting him in the stomach to harm his baby. So he was so disruptive that most of the evidence in his trial was heard in his absence because he was just in the cage performing.
Too nuts. Yeah.
On October 15th, 1992, Chikatilo was found guilty of 52 of the murders and sentenced to death. And he was executed on Valentine's Day, 1995.
June 27th.
That's it, with a single shot behind his right ear because that's just how the Russians rolled.
Yeah, they like to execute people that way. Yes,
they eventually got it, but Jesus Christ, man, like how freaking long? There were actually other times he nearly got caught as well that I didn't put in there because this thing could have gone for like 95 hours.
What a slippery cocksucker he is.
Yeah, so jizzy, so gross, and so sponsored by the Olympic Committee. What do you got?
Well, this was sent in by Lise Nevitt.
Oh, shivers. I didn't say. Danny J. Leonard actually suggested Chikatilo as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so thanks for that one, Danny. I thought it had been done a lot on podcasts, but it hadn't been done that much. So, yes, sorry. Continue.
Well, this is another listener request from Elise Nevitt. She's from Belgium.
Oh, all right. Well, then she knows what she's talking about.
And unfortunately, I don't speak that weird Dutch they call Flemish.
Weird Dutch. I don't believe that they enjoy it being called that, Barney.
Surely
you know how to do a weird ass Dutch accent. It'll probably sound like the others, but
it'll probably sound Irish. Anyway, she sent in a few Belgium serial killers, which I'm going to look into. But this is the first one. Andras Pandy.
That sounds too close to panty.
It just loosely translates to Andy Pandy.
Essentially.
So Andras, the newspapers in Brussels would later call him the diabolical pastor.
It's because he was mac and cheese with something.
He was a priest.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but there was nothing in Andras Pandy's calm and quiet demeanour that would indicate the depth of his potential for depravity. He was short and dishevelled, with a bit of a paunch and a mane of unkempt grey hair. He was also known as Father Bluebeard.
He sounds
by
hot.
some of the Belgian press.
Father Bluebeard.
Father Bluebeard.
Nice.
I don't know, some kind of reverse Papa Smurf.
That's it. I'm picturing Papa Smurf now. For the whole of this thing, it's going to be Papa Smurf doing it.
So Andras was born on the 1st of June 1927, and there is some reports that he possibly had a twin brother.
Okay.
So he was born in a village called Chop, then part of Czechoslovakia.
Czechoslovakia?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Czechoslovakia.
Just across the border from Hungary to Hungarian parents. Andras grew up to be a church counsellor for the Reformed Church in Hungary, and that was where he met his first wife, Aluna Soares.
Well, it sounds like you didn't grow up that much. Didn't you say it was short? Or am I being heightest again because I'm a giant?
Yeah, you are. Stop swatting planes out of the sky. Following the failed Hungarian Revolution of 1956, they fled to Belgium, where Andras became a pastor for the small Hungarian Protestant community in Brussels and a religious teacher for the United Protestant Church. Andras and Alona had a daughter, Agnes. Agnes. Just remember that name, Agnes.
How could I forget that name, Agnes? That's the sexiest name I've ever heard.
It really is. And in the following year, they added two sons, Daniel and Zoltan.
No, actually, I changed my mind. Zoltan is, in fact, the sexiest name I've ever heard.
Well, shortly after
Sounds like a robot overlord.
It does, doesn't it? Shortly after the birth of Zoltan, the couple separated when Andras accused Aluna of stepping out on him.
Stepping out? Is that like dancing with someone else?
No, it's fucking about, you know.
Fucking about? Well, why didn't he just say that?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
So Alona moved out of the house with their sons, leaving daughter Agnes behind with Andras.
Oh, no. I'm sure that leaving Agnes behind was not a good idea.
So then, 11 years old, Agnes soon became the victim of an incestuous relationship with her father.
Oh, no.
At the beginning of the 1970s, after his separation from Alona, Andras began courting other women through dating services in Hungarian newspapers, often giving them false names.
What, a name like Heathcliff?
Yeah, shut up. Yes, that was my dating name on some site for a while.
Heathcliff isn't the kind of man women should be wanting to get with.
Hey.
He was fucking dark and stalky.
Yeah, that was me.
Heathcliff, it's me. I'm Kathy, which was also going to be your name.
Oh,
you are
no.
essentially the song Wuthering Heights in human form.
Oh, no. So he often gave false names and job descriptions while using the motto, European honeymoon.
European honeymoon. Is that like National Lampoon's European honeymoon vacation?
That's right. By the end of the decade, he'd begun regularly visiting Hungary again, meeting his future second wife, Edith Fintor. She was a married woman and had 3 children from 2 previous marriages.
So she was stepping out and banging around.
Exactly. She had 3 daughters, 8-year-old Tundi, 15-year-old Tamia, and 7-year-old Andrea.
Please tell me that the daughters went with their dad and did a different kind of Brady Bunch situation rather than moving in with the pedophile.
I'd love to tell you that, Tara.
Of course they moved in with the fucking pedophile.
So Edith's then husband claimed that Andras had seduced his wife.
He deduced her?
He seduced his wife. Yeah, he's a player, apparently.
Well, yeah, most priests are pretty...
Oh, God, you should see the head on this guy.
Oh,
you would not
shit.
say player.
I want to see. What does he look like? Let me guess. Snooky in some way, shape, or form, because everyone looks like Snooky to you.
Well, she looks like Snooky's face has been overinflated.
Hang on, is this the guy or the woman?
No, this isn't Edith. This is Andres.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's Papa Smurf Bluebeard.
He looks like a squashed Easter Island statue.
Ooh. Wow, I think I just jizzed in my pants.
So Edith and Andres, they eloped to Belgium.
Well, they went on a European honeymoon.
Yeah,
didn't they?
along with her children.
Oh,
and
no.
where they were married in 1979, shortly after Andres' divorce from Alona. Shortly after their marriage, they added 2 more children: a son, Andres Jr., and a daughter, Rika.
Another daughter.
In 1984, Andres started a second abusive, incestuous relationship
sake.
with his stepdaughter, the now 20-year-old Tamia, who he had impregnated her after raping her.
Oh, God.
Tamia's claims of sexual abuse were brushed off by her family members, stating that she had probably used a towel containing Andres' semen to impregnate herself.
Well, that's probably how Chikatilo's wife actually did get pregnant. But, yeah,
So she
watch
did
out
it-
for spermy
so it
towels
was her
unless you want
fault.
kids. Well, I mean, it's always the victim's fault.
Yeah,
and
so-
also, yeah, women, watch out for spermy towels because we can all get pregnant from them.
She was sent to live in a different house with Agnes. So-
Well, I would think that would be a good thing because she gets out of...
Yeah.
No. Okay, what did she get pregnant from Agnes's towel too?
And in what is believed to be a fit of jealousy, Agnes tried to bludgeon Tamia to death with an iron bar.
Jealousy over what? Because her dad was banging her too?
In the basement of the home. Unfortunately, hearing noises from the floors above, she was startled. Ooh, what was that? And stopped.
Oh, shit. So is it her name, Tamika, the girl who's pregnant?
Tamia.
Tamia. Okay, so she gets raped and knocked up by the dad, and then the daughter tries to kill her.
Yeah, her stepsister.
Oh, far out.
After being hospitalised, Tamia attempted to report her abuse, but her claims were again dismissed, and she later gave birth to a son, Mark. In 1986, Tamia escaped from her family, first staying with relatives in Vancouver, in Canada, before starting a new life in Hungary.
Okay, good.
So she actually got away.
Okay, I'm really glad about that because, what a shit show.
Shortly before running away to Vancouver, Tamia had told her mother that the father of her son was Andres and that he had been sexually abusing her. This sparked a fierce argument between Edith and Andres, and soon after this time, Edith and her now 14-year-old Andrea disappeared.
Well, Andrea...
That's a daughter. Another daughter.
That's not one of Andreas's daughter, though.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, because that's egotistical too.
Yeah.
It's essentially just Lady Him.
Yeah.
Like when you had that daughter called Barnita. She was one of your older kids and, well, she's not around anymore.
Well, she was naughty. Andres had told the police that Edith had left him for another man and the two had moved to Germany with her new lover.
Right. I mean, you hope that's true, but...
2 years later, in 1988, 20 years after their separation, Andres' ex-wife Alona and their 2 sons disappeared.
That's a long time after they separated for him to have disappeared her.
I think
if
she
I'm
was
catching her
probably
drift.
getting sort of money from him and stuff.
All right, and he just was like, ugh, over it.
So Andres first claimed that they'd moved to France and then changed it to South America.
Arriba. I guess it's easier to like pretend that you can't track someone down in South America than
That's
it is
right.
in France.
By 1990, Edith's 18-year-old daughter, Tundi, was still alive and living with Andres.
Oh, why the fuck do people keep leaving girls with this guy?
So Andres sent Agnes away on a vacation with his younger children, Andres Jr. and Rika, only for Agnes to find upon her return that Tundi had also disappeared.
Well, I don't want to go on vacation with Agnes. She's pretty, killy as well.
She was told by Andres that she had become disturbed and was sent to live with another family.
She wishes she got to live with another family.
Police investigation of the disappearances had previously been very limited, with Andres managing to avoid suspicion by pretty much making shit up and forging letters to trick the police into believing they had simply migrated away from Belgium.
That old chestnut.
I mean, there was at one point where he hired some actors to go with him to pretend to be some of his children and took them over to Hungary and then got other people to say, oh yeah, he was there with his kids.
Oh,
so he went
epic.
to great lengths
to
make all this shit up.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1992, 2 years after the last disappearance, Agnes attempted to report her father to the police for sexual abuse. Although initially no real action was taken, suspicion against Andres increased and the police interest in the disappearances grew. So the Hungarian Popo became involved in the investigation.
Are you American?
Sorry, the Hungarian Polis.
Coppers, mate.
Coppers. You know what we call police? You know, well, what Australian Crims call police?
What?
The Jacks.
The Jacks?
You have never heard that expression before?
Why do they call them the Jacks?
I don't know. It's a really old Australian expression.
No. Well, I guess I'm not a criminal, see? That was just a test.
Yeah, so the Hungarian Jacks became involved in the investigation due to a possible connection with Andres to cases of many missing women in Hungary.
Oh.
Andres frequently visited Hungary.
For his European honeymoon.
Well, he owning a summer home near the River Danube, and during his trips he was known to charm local women and to offer to take them with him to Brussels.
So he's a charming, ugly fucker with a lot of money.
He must have been a hell of a lot of
things.
charm. Yeah, he had a lot of money. This theory led the two police forces to begin a joint investigation.
Well, life's better when there's a joint involved.
The United Protestant Church in Belgium, Andres' employer, had never made an official complaint against him in his role as a teacher and pastor.
Everything's like the keepers all over again.
However, in 1988, his colleague, a Dutch minister, apparently became aware of abuses at home and the lack of police interest. He supposedly wrote to the Belgian Ministry of Justice and Queen Fabiola because of his suspicions, but received no answers.
Oh, talk to the hand, she said.
Well, eventually, Andres was arrested on the 16th of October 1997, coincidentally the same date as the White March, a large demonstration for the victims of another Belgian serial killer, Marc Dutroux.
Oh,
he was nasty. He was
nasty,
and who had sexually abused and killed several girls in Belgium a few years prior.
Is he the one that had he would kidnap them for a while? And keep them, yeah.
The Dutroux's case was controversial in Belgium and brought police incompetence and corruption into the national spotlight. In addition to Dutroux's case, Andres' case had worldwide media coverage. In November 1997, Agnes herself was arrested by the Jacks.
Oh,
the Popos.
What did they charge her for?
And a few days later confessed to participating with her father in most of the murders of her disappeared relatives.
Oh my God, daddy-daughter murders.
It was,
this is a first.
She told authorities, at her father's behest that she killed her own mother.
No way!
Together between 1986 and 1992, they killed her stepmother and 3 of her siblings. According to Agnes, she was responsible for the murder of her mother, Alona, and took part in the murders of Daniel, Zoltan, Edith, and Andrea, but was not involved in and possibly unaware of Tundi's death. It is believed that the killing of Tundi was the only murder Andres had committed without Agnes's assistance.
Oh God! So from the age of 11, she lived with him, and he was rapey, and he trained her to kill with him.
So you want to hear about the MO, how they did it?
Yeah.
This is what Agnes said. It was mostly with a handgun or with a sledgehammer.
Ooh, handgun makes more sense.
The corpses were then dismembered and partially dissolved in a bath filled with acid in the basement.
Oh, don't have a bath in the basement is my advice.
Yeah, and then the remaining parts were taken to a local abattoir.
Oh, hang on. Does that mean that people ate them?
I think they just threw it with all the offal and stuff.
So
something
then it
like
got
that.
made into
sausages. I couldn't find more information on that.
You couldn't find where to buy a person sausage?
Because I couldn't learn Flemish in a week.
Oh, it's because you're lazy, isn't it? Everyone else can do that Flemish in a week course.
Well, there are other languages in Belgium.
Like yeah,
French,
a lot of French.
Well, Dutch.
Probably some German going on.
German, but I couldn't learn any of those languages in a week.
No, not in a week. That's a little excessive.
Andres, of course, denied the charges, but largely due to Agnes's testimony, enough evidence was gathered to convict him. In court, Andres dismissed the proceedings as a witch trial against him, and told the jury that the allegedly dead were still alive and he is in contact with them through angels.
Okay, if he's in contact with them through angels, isn't the implication that they're fucking dead?
Well, angels can speak to living people too.
Yeah, but, we don't need angels.
If you believe in angels.
Well, all those figurines you have on the dashboard of your car with their shiny crystals and glittery wings make me believe.
They're porcelain elephants, thank you.
And their tits are spectacular.
And I had to trade a cat for those.
And Desi was such a nice cat.
When asked why his missing family members could not be traced in 4 years of searching, Andres replied, "It is up to justice to prove that they are dead. When I am free again, they will come and visit me."
Right, yeah, right. So he's going to be free and they're going to visit him even though they're dead. Maybe he can hire some actors to visit him.
On March 6, 2002, a Belgian court convicted Andres Pande for the murder of 6 family members, attempted murder and the rape of 3 daughters.
Wow.
Andres was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole and housed in the Leuven Centraal prison before he was moved to a prison in Bruges.
In Bruges. Good
Due
movie.
to health reasons. Do you remember that movie in
I
Bruges?
do. It was really good.
There was actually a joke that Colin Farrell does in that, and he says why Belgium's famous for chocolate, so they can lure children into their basements. And no one laughs, and it's pretty funny. Yeah, so Agnes Pandy, now 44 years old, received a 21-year sentence for being an accomplice in 5 murders and 1 attempted murder. Prosecutors had requested a 29-year sentence for Agnes, but her lawyer pushed for leniency, saying Agnes had been under the overwhelming, irresistible spell of a father who was raping her and coerced her into collaborating into the killings of her mother and siblings.
Holy.
Agnes said in her closing statement, "I had no way out. I was completely in his grip."
I don't want to be completely in his grip.
So Andy Pandy, Andres Pandy, died on the 23rd of December 2013 from natural causes in Bruges prison infirmary.
Hooray!
I hope it hurt a lot.
Yeah, natural hurty causes, motherfucker.
Yeah. That's not the end. There's more.
Are the angels going to tell you the rest of the story?
No.
What about the elephants? Porcelain elephants?
I'm going to tell you the rest of the story.
Oh, that makes more sense. You're the one with the
Yeah.
microphone, right?
Shut up, Murphy Brown.
Fine, Heathcliff.
Andreas? Oh God, I hate you so much, Tara.
I'm enjoying your hatred so much. It's like sunlight on my face.
It'll be a foot in your ass.
Yeah, whatever, it'll be worth it.
Andres owned several homes within the Sint-Jans-Molenbeek area of central Brussels along the River Seine. These included row houses where the majority of the murders had occurred. And
Hang on, how come he's got so much fucking money?
Well, he had this charity organisation that he would raise money for, and then he used,
and then he just raised money to buy fuck houses.
Yeah, to buy himself nutsacks everywhere.
Yeah, nutsacks.
And apparently all of these basements were connected in these row houses.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, so after an excavation there, the skeletal remains of 7 women and 1 man were discovered within the concrete of the home's basement.
Oh.
In January 1998, DNA analysis of the bone fragments revealed that the deceased were not relatives.
They were the actors
Andres.
that played them. He got so into it with the method acting that he probably killed them too.
Well, maybe.
I'm just speculating.
And it remains unclear if their deaths were related to the case at all.
What do you mean? What, they might randomly have just had other dead bodies there?
Well, but due to Andreas's prolific use of Hungarian dating services, there are suspicions that they could be the skeletons of Hungarian women brought to Belgium.
Heathcliff, it's me. I'm Kathy.
I'm not Kathy.
I've come
I'm
to
Barney.
your fuck pad. I'm so cold.
To your nutsack.
Take me down to your creepy basement. Oh.
We're heading on down to the nutsack. Several firearms, including 3 rifles and 4 handguns, were also found stashed in a compartment built into the ceiling. The houses were later demolished.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
It is speculated that Andres and Agnes may have committed several additional murders of non-relatives before and during the killings of their family members. In November 26, 1997, a month after his arrest, a Hungarian newspaper reported that Andres had fostered an unknown number of Romanian children.
No.
Orphan refugees from a 1989 revolution.
Oh, so did you say they're orphans? So there's probably no one checking up on their... Oh, far out.
The children were supposedly recruited by a charity called YDNAP, Pandy spelled backwards. It is reported that nobody knows what happened to them or if they returned home to Romania.
Well, yeah. He gave them a good education, some nice food, and shipped them off home.
Police also linked Agnes to the 1993 disappearance of a 12-year-old girl whose mother was romantically involved with Andres. So I think she did some killing of her own.
Wow. She's quite interesting to me. Like, I would like to see like a movie about her or something.
Well, here's the kicker, Tara.
Oh, what? There's a kicker?
Hungarian authorities had searched interconnected basements of Andreas's former home at Dekenski, north of the Hungarian capital Budapest.
Dekenski.
Now, the findings were concealed, but suggested that an old family tragedy, that's in quotes, might have been responsible for Andreas's killing spree. In fact, they suggested that the prisoner who died in Belgium might not be Andres at all.
What?
But rather the twin of the real Andres, whose death had been officially recorded in 1956, the same year as Andres's migration to Belgium.
So how does that work? So
I know, it leaves more questions than answers.
So, like, the twin killed him when they were in their late 20s and stole his identity and then got married and moved to Belgium?
Yeah.
But what? I wonder.
But why?
What would the twin, unless the twin had, like, a really bad record and was on the lam or something, what would the point be?
Yeah, look, I couldn't find a lot of information on this.
Oh, your Flemish needs to improve.
I know.
So does my Flemish.
It's a good story, that it does offer more questions than answers.
Yeah, wow. I'm just amazed at all the Agnes stuff, actually. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrible.
Oh, she was abused from the age of 12, you know.
Well, who knows if it even started at that age? Like, might have been sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Well, whoever he was, I'm glad he's dead.
Me too.
That's good.
How about an Aussie As? Aussie As are short crime stories that with a quintessentially Australian flavour.
That is usually the case. You're correct there, sir. However, we did get an interesting suggestion from Susan Bradow, who was suggesting that we do some Darwin Awards sort of thing. So the Aussie As this week is actually featuring a living Darwin Award winner.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. It's not about crime, but it is Aussie As. So a bloke named Gordon from Darwin in Australia lost his arm, the use of his legs, and was revived 3 times on the operating table after an encounter with a king brown snake. Gordon has said, "I still can't believe my arm's been chopped off just for one snake." Perhaps 9 snakes who each bit him once would be more easily believed than the one snake who bit him 9 times.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, you believe that?
Yeah.
Gordon, who's probably called like Gordo or something, like
Gordo.
Gordo. He's admitted that he was drunk at the time, and he'd been driving with a friend from Mandorah to Darwin when they saw the snake.
I know. Famous last words are always, "Can you hold my beer for a second?"
Yeah, well, no, he didn't get anyone to hold his beer. He was holding a beer in his right hand, so he actually picked up the snake with his left hand.
Oh, this is a problem.
Yes, that was a problem. He said, because I was holding my beer in my right one, the snake bit the web of his hand, but Gordon managed to withstand the pain and put it in a plastic bag.
Oh, pig's ass! I put this dead snake in a plastic bag.
You stinking bastard. He threw the bag in the back of the car. Once again, quoting Gordon, "For some stupid reason, I stuck my hand back in the bag, and it must have smelled blood, and it bit me another 8 times. He put his hand in the snake bag. Don't put your hand in the snake bag, people.
No. By the way, your Australian accent is a bit on the nose.
Yeah, don't really know how to do one, do I? Never heard one before, huh?
Pig's ass!
Yours is hauntingly beautiful. His friend drove him to a nearby hotel, of course, because, you know, what do you do when you get bitten by a snake? Go grab a beer, mate.
You fucking mole.
You stinking bastard. I keep saying that. What is that guy from Home and Away say? Oh, you bloody mongrel.
Give me a flaming milkshake.
That was it. Okay, so they went to a hotel where he was taken by ambulance to the hospital. His friend tried to keep him conscious by whacking me in the head and pouring beer on me, because that's what they recommend that you do when you do a St. John's first aid course.
Right.
Yeah. I had to do a CPR refresher on Wednesday.
Just fucking knock me in the dong.
Yeah.
Pour some fucking beer on me, mate.
Yeah, if I manage to get some in my mouth, you'll know I'm still conscious. So despite his friend's quick action, doctors have said that it will take a long time and a lot of rehabilitation before Gordo regains full muscle control. And when he does, they're assuming that he will probably attempt another Darwin Award. Nice one, Gordo.
Oh, that was good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, good idea, Susan Bradow. There's a lot of stupid Aussie Darwin Award stuff to be done there.
Hey, Tara, I think we're about done.
Ah, really? Already?
Hey, before we finish, I just like to thank a couple of people for rating us on iTunes.
Oh, yes.
Foster 12 Trees.
Yeah, Baby Cakes loves Mitchies.
Oh, and I like what she said. Barney and Tara are like jelly and grandma butter. That's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
It's lovely. I don't think you're ready for this
I
jelly.
think I might call that my new album that.
You should.
J Wed Butter.
J Wed Better.
J Wed Better.
Yeah, and theatre fans. Oh, I got an easy one to say.
And I've got KWKR.
Kawakawa.
Apparently we're tastefully tacky.
Ah, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Like Snooky.
I know, Snooky wishes she was tastefully tacky. Thank you, everyone, for your reviews. They really are helpful for us. So, yeah.
I've been Barney Black.
And I'm Tara Saraman.
And we just did some bloody murder.
Please don't forget to review us on iTunes.
And, of course, join our Facebook group, Bloody Murder Podcast.
Rate and subscribe. It really does help the podcast grow. Yeah, follow us on Twitter at Bloody Murder Pod and at Barney Danger.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week. Goodbye and adios.
And keep kicking against the pricks.
Get your hands off my dirty pillows.
Get your hands off my dirty pillows. I can't. Why did that music come on? All right.
They had the intercom on in the room, and they kept lying that it wasn't on, and they were using sonic pressure on my head since 1997.